Right, morning guys, welcome back to NZ Marko Outlaw Customs. Again, I haven't got through much with footage. To be honest, the last couple of days I've been too busy watching the live from the boys in Youngstown, Ohio, lifting the roof on that school bus for Lewis Lee and playing in traffic. So yeah, there's been a whole heap of them there. Still going on at the moment. So it's Monday morning here, my time, midday Sunday over there. I know that there's already a few left. This morning, jumped on planes and whatever, and left. I know Heidi and Arco and a couple of others are leaving there shortly. I think they've got it. They've got all the main structure done, and they've got a lot of the harder stuff finished. They've got a lot of side panels to put on, and obviously the windows to put in. You know, that is awkward, but it's more somebody with less of the sheet metal fabrication can do, because it's a lot of pop rivets and not a lot of welding and whatever. So it's really cool to see that done. Again, thanks for all the new subs. I'm 910, which is absolutely freaking awesome. Climbing nicely. I'm trying to beat DG Retro to Danny to 1,000. We've got a little bit of a soft competition going there. He's been at 900 for a while. I think he's like 931, so I'm trying to beat him there to 1,000. Just a little bit of friendly competition there, since we've been slightly crawling along together. But anyway, these panels look good. I'm going to flip them all over, give them a rough sand on the inside, and texture coat them. I've got that texture coat gun here. I'll grab that. Right. So now I've got the proper thing. So I've got this proper texture coat gun thing here that I've got to assemble. That goes on the 3M undercoat paint, frickin' whatever the things are. You just put it straight on and use it. There's a little bit of room there to put some reducer in it if needed. So yeah, that'd be interesting to see how this works. Would have been nice to have earlier on, but got it now, and it saves me making a mess of a different gun. Which I don't really need, but would have been handy at the time. So I obviously got to screw that on there for the main nozzle to where to point it. It's got a bloody big hole in it. It's almost like a sandblasting gun. And I better put that on there with a bit of thread tape. And yeah, that's obviously a interesting. That's obviously some sort of regulator sort of type thing for adjusting how much you can pull the trigger in, I guess. So yeah, pretty simple piece of kit. Just screws on the poles. I'll grab an empty one. Obviously, you put the tube on the bottom of it. There's a metal tube to screw in the bottom of that, so that fits on there. You just screw it on. I presume. Doesn't matter anyway, you get the idea. That screws on there, and then you can blast it inside of these panels, which would be really handy. Get them all texture coated so they're just less likely to get gravel rash and whatever else. Not likely to. A lot of these ones will be in places where they're not likely to get stone damage and whatever, but it'll just extra protection from in behind just in case. So yeah, I'll get that done, and then we'll let that dry for a couple of 3 hours or whatever. Just let it sit, and while that's sitting and drying for a while, I'll get this prepped to set up for the black, and obviously a bit more wet sanding in here, get the top bit all sanded out, get that masked off where I'm going to put the black on it, and then hopefully these will be dry and I can flip them back over and give them a quick rub back with 400 on the soft block, and they should be ready to paint. I'll just have to have a good wee look, just make sure there's no other little funny issues that I'm not happy with, but I think they're about ready. I'll have a quick look in a minute, just have a really good scan, just make sure it's nothing I want to fix or chase before we get ahead of ourselves, if you know what I mean. But I think they're basically ready to go. So yeah, we'll get all this crap organised. At least if I get this on first, it gives plenty of time to dry, you know, and then in the afternoon we can spray all this shit black. I've got to get a spring for another gun, don't I? Well, yeah, I need to do that before I can paint black, because I don't have another gun. Yeah, so the other one's got no seal. No seal maybe. We'll work it out. But yeah. So we'll get ourselves prepped up anyway, and see where we're at. Oh, the other thing too, I forgot on Friday, just with everything else that's going on, I forgot to organise the next piece of the quiz. I haven't even checked the answers. Just between doing this stuff and then, I guess sort of talking to Heidi and Arco and all that sort of stuff about what was going on with this raising the roof stuff. I've sort of haven't really lost my way with that quiz thing, but I'll sort that out today or tomorrow or something like that, and do the final little thing and then poke that up, and I might jam that in one of the videos I've got sort of half ready to go up, and get that up, and then yeah, throw the next quiz in amongst that. So yeah, I'll have to get that sorted. Been a bit of a kerfuffle lately, mainly just trying to get this stuff sorted too. So I've been worried about that, not other things. But yeah, we're almost there with the painting. There's lots of other bits and pieces to painting, but this is the main stuff. The only other things that really need painted that will go on at some point is the little panels that, which I need to do a bit more work on. There's the main panels that sit on here that hold the clips on that hold the wood side down. That's about the only other things that are really, well, I would say, but they're probably the only other parts of the main bodywork that need to be sorted. But they're simple things, and there's lots of little pieces to paint black at the same time, and they can sort of go on at any sort of time, really, if you know what I mean. Not critical that they need to be painted now. I was just trying to get all this big main stuff so we can, like the side valances and stuff like that, we can slip it back underneath the body. You know, look, when we take this, undo all these, when we loosen these bolts off, we can slip these side valances in underneath. We've got a little bit of, some slight packing material to go between the body and the chassis, and we let the bolts lift a little bit, just so the body doesn't squeak. We've got some stuff to put in the air. There's lots of little things, and we need to put the side valances in it then, and we can block the body down for the last time, and we shouldn't have to go back and play with any of that stuff. Yeah, and it's assembly after that, and finish pieces off and assemble, and finish pieces off and assemble. So that's where we're at. So I'll have a look around the stuff, and we'll get organised for the undercoat, texture coat. Righty, so I've just given everything a quick rub back, just basically scuff it up, a bit of 240. I've got the first bottle of stuff over there. I actually grabbed the two that I used for the back of there when I was pouring it into the thing. There was a little bit left in the bottom of them, so I just poured into that one. Just try to get the excess out of there, so I can, just not try and waste too much if I can from the first two goes. So I'm just going to put a bit of thread tape on that gun, I'll set the regulator about 30 psi, which was what it recommends, and then I'll just start spraying this crap on, I guess. So I'll just get some thread tape, throw on that. Fitting for the gun, make sure it fits my freaking air hose. Looks like it's the right thing, and get on with it. Right, so I'm almost ready done. I'll just put a bit of tape on that thing, plug into the air hose. It doesn't leak, so I need to replace this fittings on the guns. I'm just going to quickly test spray to see what it sprays like before I put a mask on, just to see. So yeah, all you do is just screw this into there if you've never used one before. It's got they've got a little frickin', what do you want to call it, wing nut frickin' things there, so you can turn it, because otherwise it turns independently, so it doesn't turn with the actual thing. So I guess you just do that and spray her on. See how we get on. Have a little play on the inside of this and just see how it's going to work. Oh, this is going to be messy shit, isn't it? That's kind of what I expected it to look like first time. Right, so that works a lot nicer out of that frickin' gun. That was kind of hoping for the first time, that sort of texture. Hopefully you can sort of see that. So we'll let that dry off. You know, it's one of those things, it'll be dry, you know, reasonably touch dry in about an hour-ish. You know, a bit less than that, but it's just a couple of reasonable coats in there. And I did, you probably don't see on the camera, but I just come in here and flick around the main part of it. I didn't go right up to the edges, but I just sort of flicked it in there, so because of the fender will cover the other parts of it anyway, just so it sort of blends in a little bit better than the way it sprayed out the first time. It's fine, you know, but I just thought, you know, this here and here, I'm not worried about this. This has got plenty of protection on it now. This will get a quick coat or something near the end. You know, when we mask the back of this body out at some point, and we'll blow a quick coat of something in here just to seal this, so the moisture can't go back through that. But like this, when we paint this today, I'll mask the side edge off and we'll blow a couple of light coats of black in there as well. Like we will on the undersides of these. Not quite sure whether we'll do this point or some other point. We'll get the tops dialed in, and then, you know, I've still got to paint the insides of those as well with a couple of light coats. So there's a bit of fluffing around to do yet, but yeah, at least these are done underneath now. So it all been cut and repaired, or cut and joined to make these panels, and to obviously do some alterations because they weren't right when it was initially made. At least that's all nicely sealed up now. So with a couple of coats of paint in there, the moisture should never get through, you know, back through whatever's there. So I'll get a little bit more sanding on here. You get this all masked out and ready for paint. Now by the time I muck around, get this masked out, cleaned up and whatever, whatever time it is now, I think it's about 10:30, so it'll be close to lunchtime, and then by the time I come back after lunch, this should be plenty dry enough for me to turn over, and we should be able to blow the black on. I just need to remember to take one of the springs away with me from one of these other guns, and I'll shoot down to the engineering shop and see if I can get something that's close that I can throw in that other gun so I can use it. So I can at least use this to paint the black, because it does spray reasonably well. It's a pain in the ass. I'd like to be using this one, but the 1.4 should be fine as long as I can get a freaking spring to put it. At least I know it works and it's not leaking. Well, I'll have another blade look. I think it's got to, when I'm spraying it, it'll blow just a little bubble, just a one wee bubble out of the back of it. So it's better than nothing. And I'm going to have to wet sand and everything anyway, so I think as long as we get everything right, we should be fine. Yeah, it'll lay down good enough so we can get the job done. And at least then we're not screwing around with anything. And everything else is small, so there's lots of little bits and pieces. You know, we're going to paint that freaking hoop thing and the headlights and all the bracketry for the headlights, and you know, we're going to paint all that crap yet. So there's lots of little pieces to paint. You know, as we get, you know, half a dozen things sorted, we'll hang them up or whatever and paint them. You know, like the windscreen poster will have to be, you know, a couple of coats of primer on them, rubbed out and painted and crap like that. You know, there's all those sorts of little pieces that are going to be done. You know, all this stuff will have to have a light coat of paint. You know, they'll probably I'm giving just rattle cans from a couple of these bits and pieces. But there's lots of stuff to paint. Lots of little bits. Lots of little bits. I've got to paint that radiator, the core and everything over there. But I'll have to mask the opening part of it, which is going to be a bit of a pig. It's a bit of a weird way they do the radiator and grill. The grill is the radiator and the radiator is the grill, if you know. It's just the surround that goes around it. So I can't paint the cores, but I need to paint the outside of it, which I need to re-prep. I wish the guy, when he prepped this thing and put it all back together, after I cleaned it all up and welded it back together, I wish he masked the shell off and sprayed a bit of something on it. But I've never got back to it, because I've been worried about doing everything else. So we'll have to do something with that shortly. Hopefully we get the grill shell back shortly, which will be, it's a little bit like this one, but it's different, and it should be nickeled. We'll have to get all this stuff prepped up for nickel. All those bits and pieces I made that were nickeled on the back of the body. So there's lots of stuff to do, but again, I think it'll fall together once we can actually start getting this thing back together. Start bolting things back on, you know, get the wheels back on it and all sorts of things. I think it'll slowly piece together quite quickly as we get bits and pieces done. But that's cool. I just need to get all this crap out of the road. Get this bits and pieces finalised. Get it all finalised. That's cool. Very good, right? I'll get sanding, get masking, and I'll tape. Actually, I'll get those pieces. I'll set them up here and just see where that's going to be painted. Work out what I'm doing there. We'll do that now. Righty, so I put a bit of tape on here. Obviously, painting on the hole. Put the bolts in this around the wrong way, but it doesn't matter. I can't wind the front one in dead tight. But for what it matters at this point, it doesn't really matter. But I just wanted to see where this sits exactly, obviously, because I want to work out what I'm going to paint black and what I'm not. Because obviously this is going to be black, and I'm going to have to tape it up here somewhere. I was just trying to work out exactly what I was going to do, because this will be black as well, but obviously the rest is going to be blue, and this will be blue still. So I just was trying to work out whether I was going to tape off around this where this sits and paint black up to this edge, or whether I'm just going to paint, you know, like just this piece of it, if you know what I mean. Just mask around it. And what I'm going to do is I've got photos of the one in Australia. I'm just going to have a quick look at those photos, see if I can dig them out on my phone somewhere. Got them on my phone, see if I can get in close enough to that area, just have a wee nosy, and just see if I can work out what they've done. But yeah, I'll just leave this on here for a few minutes and just work out exactly what I'm going to do. Because the main reason why I did do all that on there, because I could just, you know, put an imaginary line up here and then mask, you know, cut the tape and leave that tape there and pull the rest off, if you know what I mean. Obviously tape underneath here and just paint this whole area black underneath this. But I just want to work out exactly what I'm doing there. I'd like a nice soft edge on it, not a hard edge, if I can get away with it without too much of a hard edge. Yeah, but we'll work it out. Ideally, probably in some ways, probably could have painted that black first, but it was 1.5 dozen the other, and it's only this little piece here that's going to matter. Everything else is like it's taped up to that edge and it'll be blown up against it anyway, so it should be a fairly clean edge. Unfortunately, it's not have clear coat on it, so it really hides that transition, but it's only really this little piece on the body that's like that. Everything else is painted separately, so it's not a biggie. Right, and that was I'm going to pour frickin' 15 coats of paint on there. It'll be only a couple. Really, it only really needs a couple on there to make it. It should be fine, because you're not really going to be likely buffing this out so much, you know, as this. And if I can get that nice and shiny, we can just mask it off and leave it shiny, you know, as long as we can get this nice and flat and clean underneath. If it's really shiny, we'll just mask it out when we buff the rest of it, and you won't even have to touch it, if you know what I mean. But anyway, have a quick look at these photos. Man, I've got a razor blade here somewhere, because I used it to start scraping a couple of little just runs, and the wee part run and the wee part sag that was on the back of this other day. I think I can find that frickin' razor blade, because I want it to trim that tape off. I want to trim it off through here and just have a wee look without the tape, you know, on where the black would be. Just want to see whether I like it or not. But yeah. And, freaking hilarious. So, Heidi and Arco are on their way home from the raising the roof. So Joey from Mill Creek Fab Shop was there, and the Iron Horse Garage and all those sorts of guys. Just a whole pile of them. I don't know, I'm not exactly sure how many YouTube channels are involved, but there's quite a few. But that's sort of the main ones I know. Iron Horse Garage. It was Mikey Night. He ended up going there and then couldn't stay for family reasons, and had to basically turn around and go back. And there was quite a few others turned up. But Joey from Mill Creek Fab Shop, bit of a prankster, one arm. Me turned up there with an Elmo puppet doll thing, probably just to annoy everybody. So Heidi and Arco kidnapped him. So they just put up a wee video. Well, now for me, but this will be in a couple of days when you see it. But if you haven't watched that video yet, go watch it. It's about a minute long. But yeah, they kidnapped Elmo and they're going to send him to another YouTube channel, and we're going to carry it on wherever it goes around the world. I suggested the first person to send it to would be Halfass Kustoms in the UK. One of those guys way over there. So Ralfy, so Joe never gets it back. They said to Joey, they said, it's $10,000 ransom plus shipping to get him back. Good times. But anyway, so yeah, I need to try and find this frickin' razor blade. That I'll have to go frickin' get some from somewhere, because I've only got one ear. I've got my pocket knife, but it's not much blunter, not much sharper than a frickin' bread and butter knife at the moment. So yeah, I just want to trim this off just to see whether I want to put the black up through here or not. So that I'm just going to have to tape around there. But I still really want it anyway, just so I can get a nice line around there. Pain in the butt. Can't find the bloody thing. So I haven't put it back in my Stanley knife. Because I pinched it from there. So yeah, anyway, I'll keep hunting and see if I can find the frickin' thing. Righty, so I had maybe a small revision. I was thinking that, and a lot of other people were too. Dave from Australia sent me some pictures of his white one. Now, I think I should have got it down. Not as big as obviously what it was before, but just a little bit, just poking out here a little bit, so it blends in a little bit better. Not quite so forced out. I don't know. I think I like this better than that, but I didn't like it before, where it was way out here. It looked too much. I think this doesn't look too bad. I just need to obviously just tidy the masking up a little bit, make it a little bit round. Unfortunately, I haven't got any thin line with tape, which would be frickin' handy. But yeah, I might have to see if I can pick some up, or see if Dad might have some, instead of running into town to get some. But I'll get the rest of it masked up. I think I might go for this. I think it'll sort of blend in a little bit easier. It's one half dozen the other. I don't think it would matter if I went this way either. I don't think it would matter if I went that way either. But I think maybe just a little bit out here like that one is sort of flows quite nicely too. It was too much for a start off, definitely. So anyway, I'll get this stuff masked up. I've still got quite a bit of sanding to do on that shit. So I don't think I'm going to get it painted today, but even if I can get it masked up and whatever, because it's getting freaking hot too, unfortunately. So if I can get it masked up and sorted, and then we can paint it in the morning, hopefully the weather's stays nice and warm, and in just early morning we can paint it. Yeah, I just think that's slightly better. I just think it's just a little bit. That other one was too big, way too big. That was sort of out here somewhere. I pulled it in, probably that much, I guess. It just doesn't look quite so funny. It needs to be something like that. Yeah, so I think that's where I'll go. And I'll tuck the tape in just underneath. I think it'll be fine. Something like that'll be fine. Just blend these a little bit better, so it's not quite so obvious. If I can't get any thin line, I don't think it'll be too bad. Anyway, I get the rest of it masked up around the back. I've rubbed this back with 240. I'm going to give it a rub with 400. I just knocked it back with 240 to get rid of the rest of the bad orange peel in a few places. And there was like a little high spot there that I noticed when I was looking down it earlier. So that's why I rubbed the 240 around there. We'll give it a wee rub with 400, and that should be good to go for when we paint the black on there. And then I'll just get these rubbed out, finish getting these rubbed out. So I'll bring you back probably a little bit later on, and I'll see how we're getting on. Right, so I went to try and see if I can get a spring to fit in this gun. Now, the smallest spring I can find will fit in the end of it, but it's just a little bit big, and it gets hooked up in the threads. It's very, very similar size to the end of this. It's like a tiny little bit smaller, and it wants to catch on the threads all the time, so it's no good to me. I actually put it in the vise and hooked a drill to it and tried to wind it a little bit, and just put a little bit of, just try to brush a little bit of heat over it with the gas torch, see if I could get it to curl up a little bit tighter. Around a bit of bar, but it didn't really work, so I didn't think it would, but it was worth a try. See if I get a little bit smaller. I know one of the springs out of one of those other guns will fit, but they're too long. I need to cut them down, so I don't really want to do that. So I've resorted to, because I've had a fairly good look through the bench stuff, and as I've been cleaning up and whatever, if I've swept the floor, I've had a good look to see if I can find it. It's got to be here somewhere, but where? I don't know. When I stripped that gun down the other week, when I was having problems spraying those fenders or mud guards, when I stripped the gun down and left it all on the bench, I don't know what I've done with it. It's a pain in the ass. I thought I'd sort of put everything in a heap, sit out of the road, but it possibly got bumped off the bench or something like that. So I have had to clean up around here. I've put the air underneath the bench, try to blow any shit that I couldn't get out with the broom, because the broom will sort of barely fit underneath there. I try to blow it back through. I haven't gone through to getting a lot of this extra stuff cleaned up, but I just sort of cleaned this area, thinking maybe whatever was underneath the bench and just around in this area in the dirt, because I've tried to keep this area fairly clean. I've looked through the boxes and buckets I had here with shit in them. Just, old rags and whatever, because I sort of keep the old rags just in case we happen to make a mess with something, I can use them to, like the ones with got paint, and it'd still be right for mopping some slop up if you needed it. So I picked up a lot of the shit that was around there. When I picked that up, I happened to tip it out, so it's all amongst here. So I'm going to go through all this crap and see if I can find that fucking spring, and hopefully I'll find it. Otherwise, because this gun won't work unless I play with it some more. And if I do happen to get a seal kit for it, which I'm still trying to fucking find out whether that fucking spring, well, like the spring, the seal is in that kit for the air cap, because that's the only seal I want. Because I've sent these guys in Australia some freaking about 4 fucking messages and they won't reply to me. Pain in the ass. See whether I can get that kit and whether that kit has the seal in it. So I don't want to chop that spring up, because that would be the one I would sacrifice to fit that. But if I can get that to go again, well, like as much as I don't want to, like if I find the spring, I'll find the spring, but and I can probably get a spring, that it might be fairly universal to fit most of these guns, because it's about the same size, same diameter as those ones, it's just shorter. So it's not, it's only about that long instead of about that long, because this is being machined to just fit just in there, whereas those ones here go right into the end. It's sort of like machined out, and it slips in there another freaking, 3/4 of an inch. So it's got a bit more room to take up that spring. I'll have a hunt through this shit, see if I can find it. Otherwise I might have to play with that gun to see if I can get it so I can spray this black. Once I've finished getting everything taped up, I'm sort of part way there, but I sort of stopped yesterday because I ran out of time. And I didn't want to leave the tape on here too bloody long, so I sort of didn't really go too much further. So I've still got tape in the insides of the doors and shit like that. And I think I might go with this revised edition. I think that looks okay, and it sort of blends in nicely. So when I pull this off, I'll just try and tidy this up a little bit better. I actually need to go to Dad's to see if I can find some thin line, but I was trying to find that spring. So yeah, but anyway, we'll get there at some point today. I can't imagine that spring being too far away. The only other place it could be possibly is amongst that stuff underneath there, but I think if it was on the bench, it was more likely to be on the floor than in there. But I will look in there if I can't find it amongst this crap. And I'll have another good scout underneath that bench, because it could be down this other end a wee bit further too. But yeah, I haven't come across it yet when I've been cleaning up. I have been looking, so anyway, we'll carry on and see if we can find this frickin' thing. Oh, I'm not having much bloody luck. Find this frickin' spring. As you can see, I've cleared the bench fairly well. I've been through everything on here. Got rid of a lot of stuff out of the road, put some bits and pieces in boxes, and shifted some of the trim pieces just over onto that stack of bits and pieces over there. I've been sitting stuff. So, and I've obviously I went through this shit on the floor about twice, and then as I had it in the that open mouth shovel thing, and was putting it in that bucket or the bin, I sifted back through it again just to make sure I hadn't missed it. So now I'm going to have another blowout from further down underneath the bench and whatever, and see if I can find it. Otherwise, I think I'm heading this direction. Maybe it's underneath that plastic and shit, rolled over there at some point. Maybe when I've been cleaning down stuff or, blowing a bit of air when I was fricking around trying to get the gun to work, maybe the spring was light enough that it's blown over in amongst that shit. Because I haven't swept over around amongst that stuff for quite a while. So hopefully it might have rolled underneath that bits of plastic and whatever over there. That's my next look after I've had another blowout and clean up and sweep up around here. I've tried to have a wee bit more of a, not really, but I've tried to clear a wee bit more room to make sure it's not down in amongst this other crap. So yeah, hopefully I can find the frickin' thing. Otherwise, yeah, I'm stuck. Well, not really. The only thing I could do is if I did, because I'm pretty sure, I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure both those springs and those two guns are almost identical. So if I did cut one in half, I could swap the springs, but that's not ideal either. If I needed to, just to get that one going, but that's either I'd play with that one a bit more, so if I can get the frickin' thing to seal up a little bit better and try and use it. I haven't been really through here. I have had a bit of a scan through this stuff as I've been shifting shit here earlier on to try and see if maybe it had ended up in amongst here, but I haven't seen it. Because I did, when I first started looking, I've shifted a bit of crap over here just to make sure, to try and give me a little bit more space to move. I'll have another sieve through these bolts and bits and pieces and, bags of stuff, but I don't think it's any amongst any of this crap, but it's not to say it's not. Yeah, but anyway, pain in the ass. Yeah, if this was my proper workshop, this place would be a bit cleaner. Like, yeah, it wouldn't be quite so much fucking crap floating around in here. Be a bit more organised, but it's not my workshop. I'm using it, but it is what it is. I'll see some more big frickin' beams of timber over there being collected. Anyway, so you'll have another blowout and hunt out and sweep up here and just have another sift through. Otherwise, I'm going to have to try and get that other gun working. I'll have a bit of a quick hunt through here. It's fairly empty down in here. There's a wee bit of dust and shit, so I'll have a look. The tie rod ends for this thing. When I was trying to find a spring, I'm not sure if I mentioned it before or not, but the tie rod ends for the steering on this, I've had them away try to see if we can get them rebuilt. And the engineering guys here in town, like the little workshop, they've been sort of struggling to work out exactly what they're going to do because of just the nature of how they work. They said they don't really want to make them wrong and then something go wrong. So I got hold of my brother, because he's an engineer as well and works in one of the big shops in town. but he said there's only one place in the South Island that will rebuild them, and they will forge them like they were, especially the ball piece with the taper on it, they will forge them like they were originally. So yeah, but God knows what that's going to cost, but we might have to get it done. Either that, or we just have to use them the way they are, which is not ideal either. But yeah, so I'll run that across the owner. Those guys there are going to make a few inquiries too. They were going to speak to a couple of places in town to see whether they would do them. But yeah, I'll find out one way or the other. But it's coming up towards sort of 2.5, 3 months, I suppose, since I've sort of had them. I thought maybe they might have had them done. I sort of just left it because it wasn't really important. But soon we might really need them back on there. Like probably not in the next week or two, but maybe the next month, we might have some wheels back and trying to get all the stuff back together. I wouldn't mind having them here, if you know what I mean. I thought they might have had something, or at least said something, but they hadn't. So, but yeah. Anyway, because they're probably not a big job to make them, but yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, like if they turn them and whatever, they're probably a bit worried that they might be going to be strong enough. Not that it's going to be going fast, but yeah, I guess they probably would have been forged from new. So yeah, we'll work on that. But anyway, I'll keep hunting for this frickin' spring and just wasting time that I would like to be doing other shit, but frickin' sometimes that's what it takes. I should have looked bloody harder for a start off, but I thought it would have been here, but obviously it's when I've thrown that stuff on the bench, it must have fallen off because I haven't found it amongst this stuff. As you probably guessed, I probably shifted everything on here a million times backwards and forwards, trying to hunt for it. At least my frickin' razor blade I was looking for yesterday. That's handy. But anyway, I found the ball off the end of this too, amongst that shit. That fell off there ages ago, and I had a quick look and couldn't find it without frickin' cleaning everything out. But it wasn't amongst that crap, so it's good. I can put that back on at some point. I might Loctite it on. So it doesn't come off. Anyway, I'll keep looking. Well, yeah, I still haven't found my spring. I'm struggling. I'm slowly getting this done. I keep getting freaking interrupted. So I got the wheel, the steel parts back. So these front hubs are pressed steel. They're formed and pressed. Like the back ones are cast, but the fronts are pressed steel. So that's actually freaking really, really interesting for 1924, 5, whenever these were made. So I've got to get these sandblasted. And then the guy's, obviously, he's making patterns to make the spokes. So you get these sandblasted and painted, and then he'll take them back and put them back together. So that's cool. So yeah, I'm just trying to get this stuff sorted, and I've had a huge clout around here. I can't find that frickin' spring. I guarantee if it's still here, I'll find it when I frickin' clean up everything else at some point. Probably when I finish the car. So yeah, I don't know. I've had to play with this gun. What I've done, I've just put a wee bit of thread tape on where the ring of this does up, and I've managed to get it so it's only just got, I think, 1 or 2 little bubbles. I might put another little piece of thread tape on there, and that seems to have stopped it leaking. There's a couple little bubbles coming out, so I might just put put a couple of layers around it. So I sort of just put 1.5, I might sort of like put 2.5 sort of type thing, just see if I can get it to stop leaking, at least for now anyway. It's not ideal, but as long as it works. So yeah, I've been just trying to mask up, the worst of the opening for sort of, and get this far down, because I'll put masking paper and shit on here, or plastic or something, and mark down here. And obviously I'll have to mask out a lot of this too, even though it's probably going to be covered. I still need to mask it out, and or lay some plastic in there and just mask down the back of it or whatever. So yeah, I've got to do all that. So yeah, I thought I frickin' would have had it all sorted by now, but hunting for that frickin' spring. I should have done it when I first realised it was missing. I should have frickin' had a decent hunt then. But yeah, I haven't found it. I haven't got down on the floor and had another good look underneath it, just in case it's broke down in there. I might do that before I go have some lunch, but yeah, I'm just trying to get this all sorted. I'll get this masked in a little bit better, get myself sorted, get the other side the same. So yeah, and then hopefully at some point today I'll be ready for paint. Yeah, it's been a bit of fucking, just a lot of screwing around, trying to find shit. I spent about 2 hours plus trying to sift through the shit, and then the guy that just dropped the wheels, and he probably just sat there and talked to me for about freaking 45 minutes. So yeah, but that's where we're at the moment. So yeah. But what else to tell you at the moment? But that's about it. So yeah, I think we'll carry on, and try and get this frickin' bit more of this shit taped up. At least some half frickin' ready. Yeah, and obviously depending on what the temperature's like, we'll get the frickin' painted. But it's starting to get frickin' hot again. I was hoping to do it first thing this morning, but yeah, doesn't matter. We'll get it done. A lot of screwing around. But anyway, gave me a good chance to clean this beach up, but it still didn't help me find that stupid frickin' spring. But anyway, we'll keep puddling and see how we get on. Righty. More interruptions. So I was just trying to compare these two sides. I haven't finished taping the other side, and I'm going to shoot around the dad's and see if I've got some thin line. Just bring it up to this edge if I can, or I'll rip it off and I'll put the thin line there and I'll mask back over top. Doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to get my proportions right before I frickin' set it in stone, if you know what I mean. So I think this is pretty close now to the other side. I've only just put a couple pieces of tape on there just to try and get myself a reference, but I think that's pretty good once I get a nice fluid edge on there. I think that'll be pretty good. Yeah, because it's very similar to what Dave did in Australia on his white one. I think he was very similar to what I'd done for a start off, but not quite so pronounced. You know, he had sort of more cut it off down through here. So I think like through here looks alright as well, but you know, it's probably 1.5 dozen the other. But you want it sort of to look like, you know, it's sort of a nice fluid. I'm sort of looking here, and you know, look to nice being nice fluid arc back up through here. When you stand here, it doesn't look strange. You know, and same when you sort of stand here, it looks like it's a nice fluid line up into the black, because this, you know, it's going to be black. Obviously, the windscreen posts with black and all that sort of stuff. The frame. But yeah, I just want to make sure that is nice and fluid. You know, shape. You know, it's not look, as some of the guys have said on the post, doesn't look forced or anything like that. So I think this will be the final answer, which I might post this up on Instagram and Facebook again, just to, you know, see what people think with a slightly revised edition. But yeah, I've still got to frickin' tape this shit off. But yeah, I think it's going to be too hot to paint the afternoon, but we'll get it all prepped, so I can fucking paint in the morning. I should have frickin' prepped more yesterday. I still want to sand a little bit with some finer grade up the top. And I still want to check this stuff back over one more time. So yeah, just fucking too many interruptions today. So yeah, but it's all good. I was just talking to Matt with the 65 Impala. So he's just having a yarn to him, me up, because he's getting keen to get some work done on it. So I said, you know, as soon as I get this painting shit out of the road on this, you know, like I'll still be doing painting on that, but if I haven't got any big stuff, it's not going to be not quite so time consuming and whatever, you know. And I'll hopefully be able to get to his place maybe, you know, on a Saturday or a Sunday, and spend a bit of time getting his car sort of going. I'll do separate videos on that as well. So, and then hopefully, now that I'm starting to get this, once I start piecing this together, you know, I'll better get another. Well, I freaking probably want to get the motor and the trans in here. I reckon I'll better get another car in here, and the wheels should be, I think, another month, and they should be all sorted. Just depends, you know, how quick I can get them sandblasted and then get them painted and then get back to the guy, and how long it takes him to get all the wheels together. He said he's having a real starting to have problems getting the right timber for the stuff nowadays. And the other thing too was we've got to get, I forgot about that. He had to break all the bolts for the centres, because they had been, obviously, early on in their life they had come loose, and they'd been peened over and welded. So he said it didn't matter, because he started, he ground what he thought was for a start off was peened over, but no, it had actually been welded in there, so he just had to break them all off to get them apart. So, but he said, yeah, it was really interesting. He said that's the first thing of that era that he's seen a pressed steel front hub, and he said it's pressed and machined in for the told the bearing races and everything. So he said it's freaking quite interesting. So they were quite ahead of their time for what that was, you know. So yeah, a lot of innovation. These boys back in this era, you know, they were doing a lot of things first, or you know, close to first. You know, it was a pretty rare sort of thing on something like this. Anyway, we'll carry on. I'll go have some lunch, come back, and we'll get this shit sorted and mask the body out and get all that shit masked. And yeah, and just revisit and just give it a lot. I might not wet sand it, just use it a little bit of that, maybe even the 600, the wet and dry, but just use it dry and just rub this, give it a light rub back just to really get it cleaned up, so we get a nice finish around that stuff, even though there is going to be rivets and shit and all that sort of crap freaking drilled into it. But anyway, and then, so yeah, that's where we're at the moment. I feel like I'm going around in circles a little bit, but that happens. Sometimes it takes to freaking get somewhere. Anyway. Alrighty guys, so small update. The car show that was meant to be happening this weekend, no longer happening, which is a real freaking pain in the ass. I had they were really trying to get it to go ahead. So yeah, that's no longer. I think a lot of people that were going to go in it are still going to do a car cruise around the streets on Friday night, even though the streets won't be blocked off, which is a real shame. It's a shame they couldn't have had something like that still without the. But fucking this COVID crap just drives me insane. The amount of things that these people, you know, right across the country have organised, you know, and they get within a few days, and it ends up being too hard. There's too many complications, too many fucking restrictions and rules and whatever. You know, they were talking about segregating off areas and making it so only so many people could be in there to be within the fucking laws, but I think it's just too hard basket, I think. You know, because they probably would have had, I'd hate to guess how many people would turn up there, because there were just so many people who have missed out on all these shows, and it's, you know, there's another couple that are meant to be like in the next couple of weekends. They won't happen either, that are close enough that I could have went to. It's just a pain. It is, it's a real pain. It just spoils anybody's fun that just, you know, that you want to go do something a bit, well, I wouldn't say different from what you would normally be doing, but something that we could have done that we haven't been able to fucking do, and still can't go do it. I'm going to talk to the guy that organised it and see if maybe I can still get to go and maybe do this, fucking do a bit of a video on this model collection, kit set model collection that this guy's been building for years and years and years, and all the shit that's in this setup that he's got. Yeah, that might be just something a little bit more interesting than just me freaking sanding and painting. So yeah, I'm really gutted about that. because that was one of the main reasons. Because I knew that this one was probably going to go ahead, you know, like back at Christmas time, even like over the last few weeks, when, you know, it was still banking to go ahead, you know, and you know, finally got my second COVID jab the other day, and you know, freaking that was the only reason why I really wanted to do it. Plus being able to possibly go to Australia or go to America at some point. Yeah, I've got to have it for that anyway. So because of Mrs. brother and obviously, hopefully, trying to at least go see these guys in the States. Maybe in their spring, summer. You know, it'd be cool to get over there and do that if I can get a chance. Otherwise, it might be 2023 before I get there. I don't know. Just too many unfrickin' knowns at the moment. It's frickin' hard enough getting in and out of the country, let alone trying to organise that sort of shit. It's crazy. It's just absolutely fucking mad. And, you know, like, as I've said before, we're beyond the point of controlling this shit. You may as well just let it go. You know, wear a fucking mask if you have to, and get your jabs if you fucking have to, and just be done with it. And let it run its course. There's not much else we can do, you know. What are they going to keep us in fucking isolation and locked up and jabbed for the next fucking 10 years? You know, people are going to go fucking stir crazy and start shooting people for fucking too long. But anyway, I'll get this stuff fucking taped up and cleaned up and whatever, and at least if it's warm in the morning, I'll get some fucking paint on them. So yeah, that's about where I'm at the moment. Just frustrated. I was really looking forward to that car show. You know, trying to get some videos up for that sort of shit. But it ain't gonna happen. Sorry guys. Righty, so I am ready to paint, but it's still too hot. It's cooling, but it's still too hot at the moment. So I've got everything masked out. I was going to spray in there, but I think I'll just wait till I maybe bolt the rear feet in at some point without the wheels on there and just flick a bit of black in there when everything's sort of everything's bolted in there. It's going to make it easy to not get overspray everywhere. You know, just give it a quick flick. We'll see how we get on. Now, I've got plenty of other bits and pieces to paint, like little pieces, so it's not hard to flick in there. I just can't be bothered masking it up, to be honest. I just want to get that bit done. So it's all masked up, ready to go. All it needs is a prep wipe when it cools down. I haven't worried about it because you know, I've been cleaning up and blowing dust around and lots of shit, so better off just to wait, give it a prep wipe, and then a tack rag and spray. Everything's basically ready to go. I've given it a general wipe, but I haven't given it a wipe down with prep or anything like that. I don't see the point until I know that I'm going to paint. So there's no point in me hanging around here. It's about 3:30ish. What I might do is just bugger off for a couple of hours and see what the temp comes like down. See if the temperature comes down a bit. Maybe sort of 7:30 or something like that. Pop back if it cools down a little. And so if I can get it back down into the early 20s instead of closer to 30. I think it's about 29 degrees C or something at the moment. So it's still pretty hot. It's pushing towards 90, not quite 90, probably 88 Fahrenheit, 87 Fahrenheit's around about there. So it's quite warm. Yeah, I just want to get the best job I can, obviously. So yeah, if it cools down, otherwise I'll paint in the morning. It's no big, it's ready to go. Just got to wipe it down and go. So that's it, but there's a freaking lot of masking in amongst all these little bits and pieces in here. I'm just trying to get it so the paint's on the ends of these pieces, and I've masked everything else off in the backside, so I should just get like that piece and just around the end. That's all I want. And yeah, the rest of it should be good. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. And yeah, I might come back down here later on tonight, and otherwise I might just go home and see if I can do some frickin' editing and get some videos up.